The journey of the soul. We ask Allah to guide us to the straight path. We ask Allah to guide us to the straight path.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen amma ba'd. فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله. Welcome back to our series, The Journey of the Souls. So far we have discussed the time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the Noor of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then He put this Noor into various different segments and then made various different creations and dimensions and bodies from these parts of Noors that He created. He distributed this light throughout the universe that He created. And then He created the jism of Adam alayhi salam in Jannah. We spoke about Jannat and the incident between Iblis and Adam alayhi salam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to do sujood to Adam, yet he rejected, he became arrogant, and then he was casted out of heaven for that reason. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Musabbibul Asbab. He is the creator of means. He makes things happen the way He wants them to happen. And each one of these means has hikmah, has wisdom within them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted Adam alayhi salam to be on the earth and spend some time on earth for a certain amount of period, and along with its progeny of Ibn Adam, the family of Adam, the children of Adam alayhi salam. Allah wanted this to happen the way He wanted to happen, and it happened. This was His hikmah. Adam alayhi salam came to earth, and various different narrations, some say he descended in India. I think there's a unanimous agreement that Hazrat Hawa and Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, they united in the land of Arafat. After many time passed, they were searching the entire world looking for each other, and at this point there were only two humans on earth, no one else. It was just Adam alayhi salam and Hazrat Hawa radiyallahu anha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them as humans, the first ever humans. No one else was from this species. And they were on earth looking for each other. They eventually found each other in the land of Arafat. And at that point, Adam alayhi salam, he wanted, and this is the entire story of Insaniya, this entire story of humans and why we are here. You see, we belong in heaven. A believer, a true believer belongs in heaven. That's where our forefather Adam alayhi salam was. We are the inheritors of Jannah. That's why in Surah Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْوَارِثُونَ. Those are the inheritors. Those are the, and these words, warithun, the waratha, to be an inheritor of something. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes these inheritors. He says, الَّذِينَ يَرِثُونَ الْفِرْدَوْسَ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Those who inherit Jannatul Firdaus, yani the highest portal of heaven, and therein they remain forever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again is saying, you're the inheritors. So why are we the inheritors? And the Mufassirun, they've gone into the secrets and the wisdom behind this, and they've said that because Adam alayhi salam was from Jannah, that was where his residence was. And for a certain reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed him into earth for a short period of time. And for a short period of time, he remained within the earth, and Ibn Adam, myself, yourself, everyone around us, we are to live in the dunya. But our origin is Jannah. And our mission is to get back into Jannah. That's the truth of all this. We came out of Jannah. كُلُّ شَيْءٍ يَرْجِعُ إِلَىٰ أَصْلِهِ. There's a qa'idah, a rule, that everything returns back to its origin. If you ever look at a tree, a seed is planted in a ground, right? And water comes on it, the sun casts its rays upon it, the rain showers its rain upon it, and the seed eventually grows some roots, and then a small shoot comes out, and eventually over the years a tree comes out, a tree flourishes. Now this tree is made up of nutrients and carbon, specifically carbon from the ground. And when the tree is fully mature, it spreads its branches and leaves grow on this tree. Those leaves are made from carbon, from the ground, from the soil. And once the tree has utilized its leaves for taking in all the sun's energy, soon as the seasons change and the leaves begin to change color and then fall back onto the ground, that leaf that has come out of the ground ends up back on top of the ground. And then it degrades, it decays on the ground, and it goes back into its origin, where it came from. And then the tree, over the years, it repeats this process constantly. And this is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He's showing you that this leaf that is falling, is actually going back down to start a process to get back to the top. This is an indirect lesson given to those people who have this vision, who have this understanding. And that's like us. We were originally from Jannah. Our parents, our ancestors, Adam alayhi salam, were from Jannah. So our origin was from Jannah, and when we came to earth, our job now, our duty is to get back into Jannah. That's what our entire mission is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent prophets, sent revelation in order for us to understand how to get into Jannah. And the further we are distancing ourselves from Adam alayhi salam, or from Jannah, the more you will see tribulations and tests will arise for the human. Humans will end up becoming at unrest. They will increase in anxiety, in this loneliness, in this state of sadness, and they will feel miserable constantly. And as we move towards the end of times, you will see a rise in various different feelings and mixed emotions. One person would feel depressed, one person would have constant anxiety. And this, many scholars and many philosophers have tried to understand why there is a rise in the use of things like antidepressants. Why is there a rise in crimes committed? Why is there this unsatisfaction throughout mankind at this very moment in time? And one philosopher, he mentions that the more we have moved away from our origin, which is Jannah, the more unsettled our heart is. And our hearts will only become at ease and at settlement once we enter back into Jannah. And that's why when we read the description of Jannah itself, you come across the words of sakina, tranquility. We come across the words of salam, peace, rest, happiness. And that is one of the reasons behind that. Could possibly be that we, once we get back into our origin, that's when we will feel as if we are in our natural habitat, as if we are in our home. So Adam alayhi salam was sent into the dunya, and it was only Hazrat Adam alayhi salam and Hazrat Hawa radiyallahu anha. And at that point, there were no more children of Adam alayhi salam, and human nature is, Imam Ghazali talks about this as well, humans nature, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put feelings within us, and each feeling has another hikmah, has another benefit, has another wisdom behind that. And one of the wisdoms behind being compassionate and loving one another and caring for one another and having this affection between the husband and wife is for the continuation of human offspring, for the continuation of humanity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put certain feelings within us for us to utilize to some extent. So Adam alayhi salam and Hazrat Hawa radiyallahu anha, they have a child, and their child was a very miraculous, they would give miraculous births, because what would happen, because there was only two people at this very moment in time in history, they would give birth to pairs, a boy and a girl, and in each birth, Hazrat Hawa radiyallahu anha, she would give birth a boy and a girl. And the rule was in that Sharia, the rule was that the boy of birth number 1 was allowed to marry the girl of birth number 2, respectively. And the girl that was born in birth number 1 was allowed to marry the boy that was born in birth number 2. This was the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded them, and this was the way civilization took start, or kind of this is how a civilization kick-started. So this command was given to Adam alayhi salam that you marry off the opposite pair or the opposite child to one another. And this was all well and good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded this, and there was barakah in the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In one occasion, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, his son Qabil, he wanted to marry the woman that was born with him, the woman in his own couple, in his birth. He wanted to marry that woman. But he wasn't allowed to. This was against the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah did not allow this. He did not permit this. But Qabil, he was adamant. He really wanted this to take place. And that woman that Qabil wanted to marry, she was actually supposed to be marrying Hazrat Habil. Hazrat Habil, he was another son of Adam alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Adam alayhi salam to instruct them and to tell them that this is incorrect. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rejected Qabil's sacrificial, Qabil became arrogant and he began to question Adam alayhi salam's command, God's command, and eventually he became jealous. He had hasad within him that Habil is going to marry the woman that I want to marry. And Qabil, he came up with this plan that I will kill my own brother so that I can marry the woman I want to marry. And that's exactly what he done. Shaitan came forward and gave him this waswasa. He ended up committing the crime, the first ever murder committed, and he killed his own brother Habil over this woman that he intended to marry unlawfully. Killed his brother, he buried him. The story's out there for you to dwell into. Then Qabil, he took his wife forcefully and he moved and migrated. Out of shame, he didn't want to see his father. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, now each one of his child were born in pairs, in twos. But there was one child that was absolutely miraculous birth, because he was born alone. And at this point, what you have to understand is Adam alayhi salam was carrying the nur of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that was given to him as a trust, that was placed on his forehead as a trust. So Adam alayhi salam was given this amana. Now this amana needed to descend into the next generation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it clear that the lineage needs to be preserved. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel alayhi salam on the birth of Sheeth alayhi salam. On the birth, this was the son of Adam alayhi salam, who was also a prophet. His name was Hibatullah, the gift of Allah. That was his title, Hibatullah, the gift of Allah. And the scholars write that this was replacement to his son Habil. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Adam alayhi salam an alternative, where Adam alayhi salam was given Sheeth alayhi salam, and the nur was transferred into Sheeth alayhi salam, and now the nur, the journey of the nur has started, is gone into the next generation. So Adam alayhi salam commands his son Sheeth alayhi salam, and this is documented, that for as long as this nur is with you, you must maintain good character. You must select your wives appropriately. They must have good character, they must be believers, they must be pure people. And you must take care of this nur for as long as it is with you, and advise this to your children as well. And we find that various prophets in the past, they would advise their children of these same types of advices. So now this nur was shifted into Sheeth alayhi salam. He was the carrier of the nur of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Question is, what happened to Qabil? Qabil migrated to Yemen, and when he got to Yemen, he constructed what we would class as a temple. He constructed a temple, and he lived there with his wife, and he eventually had children as well. And he ended up becoming a disbeliever. Shaitan came to him and said to him that the reason why Habil's sacrifice was accepted is because he would worship fire. So I advise you also worship fire. And Qabil, he began to worship fire. And this was Shaitan's plan, to misguide the masses, to cause destruction and chaos in the lands. He wanted to take the people of Adam alayhi salam, the Adamis. His hatred is with Adam alayhi salam and the progeny of Adam alayhi salam, the offsprings of Adam alayhi salam. Shaitan began to deceive the people of Adam alayhi salam, the children of Adam alayhi salam. So Qabil ended up worshipping fire. He was married, he had children. Balki he had grandchildren. And now Qabil's son was blind. And Qabil's grandson, the blind man's son, right, he would hold him and navigate him. So once the son of the blind man, he took his father, the blind man, to go and see the grandfather, Qabil. So you have the grandfather, the son, and the grandchild. And the grandchild took his father, Qabil's son, to go and visit Qabil. When they got to the temple, the son or the grandchild said to the father, the blind man, that, "Oh father, this is Qabil, this is your father." Because he was blind, so he had to tell him. And what the blind man done, he had a stone in his hand. This was the son of Qabil. He had a stone in his hand, and he threw the stone on his own father. He threw the stone on his own father, Qabil. Qabil died at that point. Qabil died. And the grandchild said to his father, the blind man, that, "Oh father, you have killed your own father." And when the blind man heard this, he ended up slapping his own son. His son died. And then he made this statement. He says, is recorded, is stated, he says that, "Pity to me, I killed my father with a stone, I killed my child with my hand." And some scholars, this is not the consensus of scholars, but some scholars have mentioned that it is Qabil's lineage, who actually are the forefathers of the Ya'juj and Ma'juj tribe. So the tribe of Ya'juj and Ma'juj are actually the offspring of Qabil. Now, Shis alayhi salam, so we understand from both children of Adam alayhi salam. On one side you have Shis alayhi salam, who is the carrier of the Nur of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and all the prophets are coming from his lineage. Subhanallah. And on the other side you have Qabil and his lineage, and the most evil of people are coming from his lineage. So the preservation of lineage was a very important thing from the start. Preservation of lineage was a very high standard, or held in high regard at the start. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us its importance from the start of civilization, so that evil doesn't corrupt the land. Whereas on one side you have the Ya'juj Ma'juj, who will cause the verse is Inna Ya'juja wa Ma'juja mufsiduna fil ard, that the Ya'juj and Ma'juj are causing chaos in the land. That's from the offspring, according to the group of scholars, of Qabil, whereas the Shith alayhi salam and his offspring all the way to Ibrahim alayhi salam, from Ibrahim alayhi salam all the way down the Bani Israel, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Subhanallah, two different stories starting from the first generation, two different, the fight between good and evil has already started. And who ignited this? It was Shaitan. Shaitan came and tricked and caused corruption and caused enmity between the children of Adam alayhi salam. He used different techniques. He had hatred and hasad and jealousy within him, so he knew, if I have these problems, I could use this as a tool to destroy Ibn Adam as well. So they say you have to be one to know one. You have to be one to know one. Shaitan is the person who has hasad. So he will recognize someone with hasad and he will use that to his advantage, causing chaos in the land. So the story of civilization starts quite early, and the sides are picked. The sides of evil and the sides of goodness are picked right from the start. Those people who are upon the truth, who recognize, who fear Allah, and those people who begin to drift away and turn away from the actual teachings and the reasons why they are sent into this dunya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us ability to understand, to recognize the true meaning of this lecture. Ameen bijahi nabil ameen. Sallu ala al-habib sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
The journey of the soul. We ask Allah to guide us to the straight path. We ask Allah to guide us to the straight path.